Well, hello, friends. My name is Matt, and I'm the youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield, and I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. So, I flicked on the YouVersion app on my phone this morning, as I often do, to see what the verse of the day is. And the verse of the day is Galatians 6:9, and it's one of those verses that gives us a promise. And I'd love to share it with you and then share some thoughts with you. I'm also going to share verse 10. So, if you have your Bible, go ahead and go to Galatians chapter 6. And join me in verse 9. Here's what Paul writes to the Galatian church back then and what he writes to us today. He says, "Let us not become weary, tired in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Verse 10, "Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers." Now we hear this promise in verse 9, right? He says, let us not grow weary in doing good. So he's saying, do good, do godly things, because the promise is at the proper time you're going to reap a harvest. You're sowing seeds of goodness and godliness, and you're going to reap from what you have sown. But there's a contingency. I don't know if you heard it, that big if word that Paul presents. He says, if we do not give up. It caused me to ask the question this morning, what is it that causes us to give up? What is it that causes us to quit? Why would we, if we have come to know Jesus, if we have a life-giving walk with Jesus Christ, what is it that would cause us to give up in doing the good? And in fact, the good works He's already prepared in advance for us to do, the Bible says, Ephesians 2:10. Why would we give up? What is it that causes us to say, you know what, I'm done, I quit, I don't want to do this thing anymore? Well, I was recently listening to a pastor, nationally known pastor, and he was talking to ministry leaders, and he was giving 10 things just to remind them and to encourage them to stay in ministry and to not give up. And his very final point, his 10th and final point, he said this. He said, when you think about quitting, remember why you started. I loved that. He said, when you think about quitting, when you think about giving up, stop and remember why you ever began in the first place. And friends, I so needed to hear that, because I'm human just like you, and there's plenty of times in life that I grow weary, I grow tired. And even though good things are good, and you would think, well, we should be attracted to doing them. I mean, in my humanity, in my fallenness, there's times where I grow tired and I get weary and I go, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to give up. I want to quit. And what that pastor said that day is, remember the beginning. Remember when you started. Remember back to when you came to faith in Jesus Christ. Remember when you accepted that call as a ministry leader. Remember that first time that you went on that mission trip. And he said, you know, what happens so often is the things that we used to look at and we say, you know, I get to do that. I get to do this good. Eventually what happens is we begin to look at it and we go, man, I have to do that stuff. And what Paul is saying is, this is a promise. He says, keep doing good. Keep sowing godliness. Keep sowing goodness. You're going to reap a harvest. But don't give up. And let me encourage you, friends, if you're growing tired, if you're growing weary, even in the good things of life, because this happens, let me encourage you. Take a moment to stop. Take a moment to look back and remember what it was like at the beginning. Remember when you used to think, I get to do this. And it wasn't, I have to do this. Friends, let me encourage you today. As you have opportunity, verse 10, do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. And do know this, that as you do, God will bless you. There's a harvest to be reaped from that good work. Have a great day, friends, and we'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.